What up, guys? Today we got a question from Mo, who is a brown belt, and he says he just gasses out like crazy anytime he visits other gyms. So he says that he's a brown belt, been doing jiu-jitsu for about 11 years. He's good and athletic, a little on the heavier side, but it's like, he knows how to use technique and stuff like that, so it's not a problem. He says that when he's training at the gym, his cardio is insane. He's like, he never gets tired. He goes 10 rounds with the hardest guys, no problem. He's ready to go. But when he goes to another gym where there's some other heavy and strong guys, he gets extremely tired and gassed out like he does in competitions. And he's like wondering, he's like, man, what the hell is going on? And just looking for some ideas on it. So, brother, thank you for the question. I have some ideas. Now, again, I don't know because I'm not there with you, but I have some ideas as to what's going on. I'll illustrate them through a story with you when I was a brown belt. So I remember being a brown belt, and I went down to train with my now coach, Sean Hammonds, down in Tennessee, down in Nashville. At the time, he was pumping out a ton of like pan champions and stuff. And he was he took second at Master Worlds himself. So I was like, I want to go learn from this guy. He's like 3.5 hours south. So I went down there with my buddy, and we got down there. We're staying for a week. There was a seminar at the end of the weekend. We stayed from basically the entire week. And that was like a vacation for us, just train there. We stayed at a crappy hotel and just trained our face off. Well, we got there the first day, and we were driving, and we barely got there in time and got out of the car and immediately started rolling. And this is like a tough training session. Get done with that tough training session, and like I'm whooped because what Sean did was Sean like says, "Hey, Chew, like, yeah, go with this black belt, go with this black belt," and then it was like, "Go with this brown belt, go with this purple belt," and he's like hand picking all the toughest dudes. And so I'm fighting for my life. The first few rounds I'm doing all right, but then, bro, it's like all of a sudden by the end of the round, I'm rolling with like this blue belt, and I'm just like, I'm hanging on for my life, and I'm like, I feel like such a disgrace to this brown belt. Can barely hang with this damn blue belt. And, then the next day I come in and, I wasn't driving, was able to drink and hydrate up and have food like properly like I would normally. Felt a little bit better, right? Still a little off, right? Still a little bit like, man, I'm gassing out like you're talking about. Like, I just feel exhausted after these training sessions. Keep going. By the end of the weekend, I was starting to kind of feel like I normally do back here at my gym, starting to kind of get a rhythm with it, starting to understand how everything goes, how people roll here, everything. Didn't feel much different at all. And so I think that there's a couple things going on there that could be useful to chew on. Number one is whenever you're traveling and visiting other gyms, you have to ask yourself, are you maintaining like your normal hydration, water, food, everything else that you normally do? Because those things are very important. It's very hard to go into the training session not well hydrated. It's also not good if your food's off, right? For instance, I went to Marcelo Garcia's gym in 2013, and I was in New York vacationing with some friends and was enjoying the New York food. And just a pro tip from me, Mo. Cannolis and pizza are not really they're not the best pre-training food. Take it from the Chewster. I went in there and I did all right for a few rounds, and then all of a sudden I was like, God, I'm about to yak. I remember it was rolling with Bernardo Free and some of the really tough guys that they had at the time. Like all the guys, it was like all of his killers were brown belts at the time. And I'm rolling with him, having some good battles with him. And then it was like I hit a wall and I felt that cannoli coming up. I'm like, yep, that's it for me today. And then those things can get thrown off, and that can really affect your training, bro, big time. So making sure that stuff is in check. And then there's the mental side of it, right? Where again, I remember periods of time like this happened when I was going down to Sean's the first couple of days. I would have that little pit in my stomach like I would when I was competing. Or like I do when I'm competing, because I still have it to some degree now. That feeling in your belly, like you're just kind of on edge, you're a little nervous, right? Maybe you have the same thing. I would have that going to open mats and training. I would sometimes, in some cases, get the battle craps. Maybe too much information for all of you guys, but anybody that's competed or you've been around a competition bathroom, you know what happens when people are getting ready for competitions. And I would have those same experiences, and I would go into those roles those days and kind of feel that same kind of intensity to some degree. And it wouldn't be until I felt very familiar with those people that kind of went away. And it wasn't until I started traveling a lot that went completely away. Like if I go to a gym now, I don't care, man. Like it feels like normal to me because I've trained in so many different places over the years. But I even remember early on when I started doing seminars and traveling to different places, I still had a little bit of it there, you know? So I think probably it's one of those two things. One of it is either that you're simply just, you know, you're not hydrated and properly fed. That could be a problem. The other one is it's a mental thing, right? Like you're not used to going to some of these other gyms. You're not used to visiting some of these people. Maybe you're putting unnecessary pressure on yourself. I don't know, right? Again, when I go to gyms and I'm training, I tend to, like, it doesn't count. I'm there and I sort of go like really slow and I let them sort of dictate the pace. I'm not going to go in there and try to like kill anybody. I don't even, like when I travel, I don't even go for submissions really. Like I'll catch some submissions. Like if I'm teaching a seminar and I'll use the submission I'm trying to show to people. But like there was one time I went to a gym and I was rolling with a coach. And like there were plenty of times I could have caught the submission. I'm just not going to touch it because I'm not there to submit anyone. I'm just rolling. We're just moving around. I just want to move a little bit, get some exercise in. I typically save the harder, more like submission-oriented rolls once I kind of know you a little bit. Maybe that's not the right way to go about it. That's just how I do it, right? The more I know you, the more I like you, the harder I go. But anyway, just a couple ideas to chew on, Mo, for you. Probably more of a mental thing. You're probably sort of getting amped up for it. Again, the more familiar you become with traveling and going to different places, the more familiar you get with these gyms that you're traveling to, the more that'll probably go away. But hopefully those ideas are helpful to you. I'll talk to you guys next time.